Hello and welcome to Rouse IAS Focus Weekly. On 13th of March 2025, I'm going to discuss the recent developments in the subject of science and technology of the past 1 week. I have covered the topics from 6th of March 2025 till 12th of March 2025, and out of all the topics, these are the four important topics from the past 1 week. The first point is, who will take the responsibility if a space debris collision ever occurs? Now, this has been a topic of discussion, a very popularly discussed issue, even in the classes and also in outside the classes in the context of space debris. We have already been seeing so many private missions coming up, so many there is a very popular term that is now being used for space race, that as new and new companies are emerging, they are expanding their network in the space. So what if any space debris ever collides with a active satellite, or if it falls on the earth and causes some kind of damage on earth, who will take the responsibility? So this is an important topic of discussion. Then second is the Hanta virus that was recently in news after the death of the wife of the Hollywood actor Gene Hackman. When his wife died, the symptoms of the death, the cause of the death was found out to be an infection caused due to Hanta virus. We'll talk about what is this Hanta virus. Then we'll talk about the recently unveiled AI Kosh, the AI Kosh initiative of India, which is an initiative of creating a data set that has been indigenously developed considering the Indian language and the Indian data. Right, very important considering the biasness that we see in AI. And then we have the Europe's EUTELSAT. It is technically French EUTELSAT. It is owned by a French company, and this has been in news regarding the recent controversy between Starlink and EUTELSAT. And there is also a news that EUTELSAT may also be paving its way to India. So we'll see. So these are the four areas which we are going to talk about. The first topic is when debris from space crashes to the earth, who will be held responsible, right? So guys, this is one topic that we have quite extensively discussed in the classes as well. Now let's see what will be the the point when we talk about space debris hitting any location on earth. So when the space debris hits any location, there are various international treaties or agreements that are meant to govern this particular aspect. Like, we have the very famous Interagency Space Debris Coordination Committee, IADC. This IADC came into establishment in the year 1993, and this is basically Interagency Space Coordination Agency. That means India is not a member of this agency. India is not a member of this committee. It is basically a membership involving agencies of the world. So different agencies, like in India we have got ISRO, US has NASA, Russia has Roscosmos, Europe has European Space Agency, likewise. So different space agencies, they have partnered together, right? And all of them together has come up with this particular coordination committee. It is one agency which has talked about how space debris coordination in any issue arising from space debris can be handled. IADC, remember this, UPSC can even ask the full form of IADC here. Then we also have one more initiative from United Nations. It is UN Committee on Peaceful Use of Outer Space, UNCOPUOS, United Nations Committee on Peaceful Use of Outer Space. Now this has been the initiative outcome from the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, and according to these two agencies, especially according to the United Nations Committee on Peaceful Use of Outer Space, space debris is defined as all man-made objects, including fragments and elements thereof, in Earth orbit or re-entering the atmosphere, that are non-functional. So normally when we talk about space debris, we consider space debris as junk. Satellites, the satellite that have been declared as junk, they are non-functional anymore, they are not delivering any purpose, they are not actively involved. Or space debris may also involve disengaged components of rockets, disengaged components of a rocket. Space debris also involves disengaged components, junk satellites. It also involves wreckage Guys, we all understand that today we see less accidents in space, but still every country is struggling. There are newer countries, newer companies coming up. There is a lot of wreckage that is often produced in the space, and that wreckage eventually also falls back into the earth. So it involves all these three things. So what is space debris as per the definition? It involves all man-made objects, including the fragments and elements thereof in Earth's orbit or re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. That means from space it has started re-entering into the Earth's atmosphere that are declared to be non-functional. That is called space debris. Now guys, recently there have been news of one of the rockets of SpaceX that has landed in Poland, causing some damages to the nearby locations. There has been missions of various other countries that has caused debris spread over large scale areas. There has been recent accident in Kenya where a field was completely damaged because of the space debris. So out of all these events, the question comes out that who will take the responsibility of all these accidents. Now guys, the answer is it's very uncertain. It's very difficult to quote who will be responsible. Like for example, we have two ways of looking at who shall be held responsible. So first is there is something called Outer Space Treaty of 1967. Under the Article 6 of the Outer Space Treaty of 1967, remember this treaty was signed under the aegis of United Nations. United Nations have recognized this treaty. It was passed by the United Nations General Assembly. So as per the Outer Space Treaty, it states that states bear responsibility for all national space activities, whether conducted by government or private players. So if any damage occurs either by a national or a state-owned space company or even a private-owned company, the country should be held responsible as per the Outer Space Treaty. But there comes another, I would say another, strange point. It came out in 1972. There is a convention called Convention for International Liability for Damages Caused by Space Objects. Now this convention has been introduced. This convention has been introduced dedicatedly to talk about the damages caused by space objects. And here absolute liability has been quoted. Absolute liability has been quoted for damages caused by space objects on the earth by the launching state. So it basically puts up all the damages by the launching country. Even if that launching country might be putting up a satellite of a different country, the launching country would be held responsible. And one more point I'll tell you here, of course, it even gives a disclaimer that if this particular accident has happened because of non-functionality of any other component other than the launching state's components or launching state's rocket, then it could be otherwise. But absolute liability has been given to the launching state. So this creates the confusion that who shall be held responsible now. I hope you guys are able to understand. So as of now, there is no clarity that who will be held responsible. But as we are seeing so much of private initiatives, so much of launching of, like Mr. Elon Musk has an objective of putting up one launch every other day. They are already putting up one satellite. They are already putting up one rocket every 6 days. He wants to narrow it down to every day. He wants to launch one mission. So when missions like these are going to be launched, it is very obvious that we will have to set liabilities for any kind of damages that this mission can cause on the locations on Earth. I hope all of you guys are able to understand. This is the issue when it comes to space debris. So you can expect that in the future this will again be a news in progress, and we may see some outcomes coming up in the domain of space debris. Now guys, after this, the next point is related to Hanta virus. Now this Hanta virus was in news recently. Like I said in the introduction, that the wife of the famous Hollywood actor Mr. Gene Hackman, his wife died because of the Hanta virus. Now what exactly is this virus? So sometimes when viruses are in news, they can become very important from UPSC perspective. You all must have heard that even lately there was other viruses that were in news, like you must have heard of this the flu virus that was famous a few months back, monkeypox virus that was famous few months back. So those kind of things also become important. Then guys, there is also one more term I would tell you, because there has been article on that particular term also. It's called toponymous diseases. What is toponymous diseases? Toponymous diseases are basically those diseases which are named after a place, a country, a river, a mountain. Likewise, like you must have heard of Ebola. Ebola is a virus named after a river called Ebola, right? All of you know it. It is in the country of Congo, right? Then you must have heard of the very famous Nipah virus, right? Nipah virus is named after, I think it is a mountainous range, right? Then you must have heard of Spanish flu, named after the country Spain, right? So these are toponymous nomenclature of diseases. The WHO since 2015 has discouraged naming diseases after a city, after a country, after a river, right? You must have heard of West Nile virus, right? So likewise, they have somewhat projecting not to use toponymous nomenclature for diseases. So you will notice that now most of the diseases that are caused, they are either named after the carrier from where it has entered. Like you have heard of this Hanta virus. It is mostly the rodents virus, we call it, right? Similarly, it can also be named after other things, after its functionality, after its impact on the human body, but not named after any topography, right? All right, so this term toponymous diseases you should remember. Now comes, so Hanta virus is a potentially fatal virus. So it is a virus that can cause death. Second is, it causes multiple types of diseases in the body. The two major causes of diseases that happens due to Hanta virus are hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, HPS, and hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome. Remember guys, whenever you have the word renal word comes from renal artery, renal vein. It is related to kidney. Right? So there are a lot of keywords that you can remember, and you can connect it with different kinds of diseases. So hemorrhagic fever with renal kidney. Hemorrhagic fever means a fever that is induced due to internal bleeding. So hemorrhagic fever with renal syndrome, it is a condition characterized by internal bleeding and kidney failure, right? So these are the two types of diseases that occur due to Hanta virus. Now, Hanta virus are a family of viruses carried by certain rodents. So because it is carried by rodents are like mouse, mice, rats. That's why we call them zoonotic diseases. Zoonotic diseases are those diseases which are derived from animals, where the main carriers of these diseases are animals, right? You know that bats already are popular carriers of so many diseases. Humans normally contract these virus whenever they come in contact with an infected rodent urine, droppings, or saliva. The most common way how these contaminants eventually enter into the humans is because of a phenomenon known as aerosolization. Right? Now, what is aerosolization? So, aerosolization basically means aerosols. Aerosols, all of you understand, these particles are so small that can remain suspended in the air. So, when particles of urine, droppings, or saliva which contains Hanta virus, when they get suspended in the air, these aerosols eventually spread out and cause damages, right? And that eventually develops into Hanta virus related illnesses. I hope all of you are able to understand, right? So, when fresh rodent waste is disturbed, the virus particles become airborne and can be inhaled. So, that is the main reason. So, guys, if you look at the way how they mostly get contracted to humans, you can easily understand people who are involved into cleaning services, especially cleaning up of old buildings, houses, people that are involved into farming, especially if the farmland is infested with rodents, and people who otherwise they are normally, they start cleaning up, wiping and sweeping the entire floor which contains some rodent waste, some rodent dropping, that can be really dangerous, right, to contract Hanta virus. I hope all of you get it. The incubation period, so once a person gets exposed to this virus, it takes normally 8 weeks for this virus to start showing its symptoms. Incubation period is the time it takes for a pathogen to start showing its symptoms. 8 weeks it takes, nearly 2 months. And guys, unfortunately, there is no specific antiviral treatment available or cure. There is no treatment available right now. A person shows signs of a flu. Most of the symptoms are flu-like symptoms, fever, perspiration and other things. But you guys can understand, if a person cures naturally, then it's good, but otherwise there is no antiviral drug available, right? And guys, prevention remains the most effective way to combat the Hanta virus, as there is no potential cure available. So the only way is to keep the preventive methods, to keep the preventive measures in hand. Maintaining cleanliness and other things are important factors to control the spread of the Hanta virus. I hope all of you guys are able to get it. Now, after this, let's move to the next topic. The next topic is regarding the Kosh, AI Kosh. So India has basically the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. It has recently released or unveiled the AI Kosh, right? What is this AI Kosh? It is a part of India AI mission. Let's talk about it. So these are the two news cuttings. This is from Hindu. Why are the Indian firms racing to build the local AI? And here they have talked about the AI Kosh. It was there in the news on 9th of March. Now let's talk about it. So guys, all of us are already aware that Government of India launched the India AI mission in 2023 in collaboration with NASSCOM. And under this mission, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has recently unveiled the AI Kosh. Apart from AI Kosh, they have also unveiled a common compute portal, which is basically going to help startups and academics to share the capacity of graphics processing units. Guys, we are already aware of something called CPUs, computer processing units, which are powered by simple processors. But when it comes to running complex graphics and animation, you need a graphic processing unit. All of you must have heard NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA Blackwell is the name of a very popular processor, GPU, which has been extensively used in making up very beautiful graphics appear on the screen. So GPUs are already being used for such purposes. But guys, in the recent times, these GPUs, because they have a very high computing power, even higher than a normal processor, these GPUs have found a really good application in the world of AI tools. The GPUs are often used for AI development tools in training them so that they can process a lot of data at a given time. So GPUs have got their own value in the world of AI, in the world of artificial intelligence tools. You must have heard that recently it was in news when the DeepSeek AI of China was unveiled. It was in news that how the DeepSeek AI of China has not used the NVIDIA GPUs, which had the global monopoly at that time, and still they were able to make an AI and a large language module of AI. Now, so what is the objective of the India AI mission? So this GPU processing facilities are there provided under the Common Compute Portal for development of new models and building new models, right? So this is a service that Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has introduced. Now, what is the overall objective of the AI mission? So the India AI mission, the objective is simple: making AI in India and making AI work for India. So first developing AI based models in the country, and then making these AI based models work in the development of the country. I hope you guys are able to understand. So this is basically the objective of the India AI mission. Now, what is the AI Kosh? So guys, before I talk about AI Kosh, let me talk about what is the problem that we can't blindly rely on the Western models of data set, Western models of Western data overall, right? So guys, the idea is very clear. Even in one of our past lectures, I have talked about that Western data has been found to be heavily biased towards, first of all, the language of the Western countries and the overall mindset of the developed countries. So one can easily understand, if most data comes from English, then there is a high chance that this data is going to be naturally biased towards the makers of English, right? So if you want to make a model, that is typically meant for India, that is typically meant to to promote the Indian idea or to give response to the Indian conditions, then the data has to be in the vernacular or in the Indian languages. And Indian languages will have more respect for the Indian conditions, and that's why we need a data set that can be taught, that can be trained on Indian languages rather than using the biased Western models. I hope you guys can understand, and that is why the AI Kosh has been introduced under the India AI mission. So it is nothing but the India AI dataset platform. So AI Kosh is nothing but the India AI dataset platform, and this platform will be used to develop AI models from scratch. In India. Now, as I told you about the training and the biasness of AI, so to some extent, even adapting existing models in the country, training of AI models is necessary, but Western models are heavily biased towards English and developed countries. Thus, the AI Kosh is the beginning of an attempt, therefore, to make India-specific data much more widely available. So that is the objective, to make India-specific data. That is the entire concept behind the AI Kosh. And next point is the data sets that have so far been uploaded, such as translational models between several pairs of Indian languages. So they have already uploaded data sets related to translation of languages from one language to another Indian languages, are an effort to diminish these biases by giving researchers and firms building AI tools in India wider access to the local content. I hope you guys are able to understand. So when you can translate the languages of one Indian language to another language, it gives a very strong opportunity for the developers to get the access to all the local content and use it to develop more mature AI models. That's the entire idea behind the AI Kosh. I hope all of you understand this. And now let's talk about the last topic of our discussion, and that is the EUTELSAT. Now, what is this EUTELSAT? I don't think EUTELSAT, particularly UPSC, may ask, but it can be a topic that can be related to international relations. It can be a topic that can be considering the geopolitical impact of such an initiative. It is again an important topic, and from the context of science and technology, I think this could be a good question in the mains when you talk about space infrastructure, space policies, and the overall digital divide in the world, right? So let me, before I talk about what this EUTELSAT is, because I don't see a very important validity of discussing EUTELSAT, but it is important to know why EUTELSAT is being discussed. So guys, all of you know, SpaceX have this very popular Starlink. You know, Elon Musk has this initiative called Starlink, and under the Starlink initiative, SpaceX offers satellite-based internet service across the world. The overall objective is to put up more than 30,000 satellites in the lower Earth orbit of the planet. Lower Earth orbit, I hope you understand, it is the orbit around 300 to 1500 kilometers above the Earth's surface, right? So the overall objective is to put up around 30,000 satellites, in the lower Earth orbit. That's the overall objective. So putting up that many satellites, you can just imagine it will be something that will keep on going for another decade. But the larger point here is that these satellites are going to provide high-speed internet. Now guys, right now our mobile phone internet works on the mobile phone towers that we see installed all across the city, right? All across the city, all across the country. We see a good network of mobile phone towers, or we see some underground, high-speed optical fiber network. Now, satellite-based internet has been seen as the future of high-speed internet. And guys, this is something that I often tell in the class, but here I think I should talk about it for the entire audience of YouTube. Guys, when you talk about internet, there are two different things. Internet and web are two different services. Internet is basically the physical infrastructure that is running all these web services. Like you are watching me on YouTube, it's basically because of a network that is running it's a physical network that is running throughout, which is carrying my videos all across the internet, and you guys are able to watch it. When you use any of the web services, these are basically tools that you can run, that you are able to access through a physical infrastructure called the internet. So internet is basically nothing but a physical infrastructure that is based on to provide all these services. So Google is mostly involved in web-based services. Google is not involved in making internet possible. But when you talk about Airtel, Jio, or for that matter Tata Telecommunications of India, all these three, BSNL, all these companies are internet providing companies. They are internet service providers, ISPs. So guys, you know already that India is already a very price sensitive competitive market where we have some of the cheapest mobile phone data plans in the world. But when you talk about the possibilities of the future of internet, it is considered that satellite based internet is going to be cheapest way of providing high speed internet across the planet. Just guys think about it. If I talk about setting up a broadband, setting up an optical fiber network, and I think of putting it up around Himalayas, just imagine how massive trenching, how massive routing we'll have to do if you want to put it for every Himalayan city. And then on top of that, if a landslide occurs, if any kind of weather calamity, natural calamity happens, the network can get damaged. So one can easily understand, to provide high speed network to remote areas of the world, it is always possible, it is always practical to use satellite based services. But with companies like Starlink, initiatives like Starlink, which has really made satellite based internet cheaply available, it is going to be the next biggest innovation in the world of high speed internet. The optical fiber networks, or even the wireless BTS networks, they are going to eventually become obsolete. I hope all of you understand. So now when you look at this particular news that I'm going to discuss, the news has no depth, but you understand the purpose why EUTELSAT is naturally an important topic. So it is related to the accessibility and the availability, affordability of high speed internet in the future. So guys, what is EUTELSAT? EUTELSAT is basically a French company. It's a French company, okay, mentioned already. And it is nothing but a satellite operator that used to provide television broadcasting. It was initially involved in television broadcasting. But what happened in 2023? In 2023, EUTELSAT merged with a British company called OneWeb. In 2023, it merged with a British company called OneWeb. By the way, in OneWeb, our Bharti Airtel is also one of the stakeholder. So OneWeb is basically a company like Starlink, which is meant to provide high-speed satellite-based internet. And EUTELSAT, being a wider television broadcaster using satellite rights and such, its merger has been seen as the next big push for satellite-based internet and the dominance of European countries over this business. And guys, on top of that, you already have heard, why did I say that it can be important from the context of international relations? You guys know that recently Mr. Donald Trump, President Donald Trump, the kind of statements he have made, and the uncertainty that has been risen after the meeting of Mr. President Donald Trump and President Zelensky of Ukraine, there is a high chance that Starlink, which is already providing its services to Ukraine, they may stop their services, and EUTELSAT may become the next player providing services across the region, right, through their OneWeb network. These satellites are also deployed in the lower Earth orbit, just like how the Starlink satellites are deployed, and they are supposed to be providing satellite-based internet services exactly in the way how Starlink is providing. So high-speed broadband satellite-based internet, and they are right now seen as the chief competitor to Elon Musk Starlink. And what exactly do you call this network? This is called a non-terrestrial network. A non-terrestrial network is basically a 5G network services of the 5G network, but the network is not built on territory, it is built in space. So through space, we are able to cover a bigger area, and we don't have to worry about any natural calamities or any hindrances that are there on land. So this becomes the next generation of high-speed internet. Now, I don't think UPSC may directly ask what is Starlink or EUTELSAT, but if it is asked, it is well and good, you guys can easily answer. But this question can be an important question considering the space policies of the country. So in India also, you guys have recently heard that Starlink of Elon Musk have recently signed, both with Airtel and Jio. They are now pushing to introduce Starlink services in the country. And as like I said, it is considered to be the cheapest and most affordable form of internet. So every organization would be naturally inclined to introduce satellite-based services. And what kind of impact it will have on the global geopolitics, especially when EUTELSAT enters into Ukraine. The issues of digital connectivity, that too to the rural areas. So rural internet, last mile connectivity, the digital divide, these kind of issues are the ones that can be popularly asked, especially in the mains exam. I don't see them as a very important topics in the prelims, but especially from the mains context, it can be easily overlapped with other areas, especially international relations. I hope all of you guys are able to understand. So guys, with this, I believe we have been able to complete the Focus Weekly for this week. We'll be meeting next week again. If you have any questions, you can please write in the comment section, and all the best. I'll see you next week. All the best, guys.